KOMP 92.3, the rock station. It's Sylvia, and today I am talking to Jerry Cantrell. It's so good to have you on, my friend.
Hey, glad to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you? I know we talked a little bit off air, off Zoom, but uh, you're in Texas, you said?
Yeah, we're in San Antonio. We just rolled into the Coliseum here, and we're setting up to do the show. Just talked to Peter Klett. He came in. He's actually going to do a couple of shows with the band. That's going to be kind of fun. And
Nice.
yeah, it's been going good. We got about another 2 weeks to go. We're in the final stretch. We've been out here for about 5 weeks, and I got a new record dropping on October 18th. I Want Blood, and we're going to drop another single here. I think in 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of you being on the road, you're on the road with Bordon Kennel Blocks, like we said, but the show is happening in Vegas at PH Live September 11th. Super stoked for it. And people have been posting on social media, like sharing videos that you and Gavin Rosdale have been going on each other's sets, like singing each other's songs. Like that has to be something cool for not only the fans, but for you guys as well.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun with it. When he's the headliner, so it's a little harder for him to come into my set. But the last time we did this, we did this tour, kind of a tour together a couple of years ago with Alice and Breaking Benjamin and Bush. So he was able to kind of come up with us on that. But yeah, I've been joining them pretty regularly on Come Down, and it's to end the show, and it's been great. Yeah, it's been fun. It's a really, really fun song to play, and people really respond to it.
Yeah.
It's a well-written song, and Gavin's just a fantastic dude. We've always got along well, and every time we get to spend a little bit more time together, like a month and a half, 2 months here, we get a little tighter. So he's an English gentleman, proper English gentleman is what he is.
Does the English accent kind of rub off with you sometimes?
No, not really. No.
So you said you had a new album coming out. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
You have the new album coming out October 18th, like you said. Since 2021's Brighton, it's called I Want Blood. So let's talk about that title, because it's completely different from the title Brighton.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it should be, because it's a completely different record.
Yeah,
Brighton was really, really that was a great record, and I think that was a pretty apt title and a great song to kind of represent that work. And when I was kind of coming up with this group of material that would turn into this record, it had a feel to it that was a bit more on the kind of heavier, aggressive side. And I had a song called I Want Blood, and I thought that was an outstanding title. It had punch, it grabs your attention, and it kind of feels right as a representation of the album as a whole.
It really does, because when I read that's the title of the album, I was like, oh dang, that's rough. That's tough right there.
Yeah. Well, it's one of my favorite records is, If You Want Blood, You Got It by AC/DC. So like, if you want some blood, I got it.
And the first single, Vilified, and we've got it on KOMP, and I'm such a huge fan of that. So far, that song, and you called this album a mother effer. So
yeah.
I'm curious about. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's just it's a good piece of work. You're always going to be, any artist is going to be excited about their new record, because it's a new record, and it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of time to put that together. And if you're going to release it, it obviously meets the level that you wanted it to hit, and hopefully maybe it even goes a little bit further than that. And so I've been able to luckily not really be disappointed, but pleasantly surprised of pretty much every record I've done in my career, and that's a good feeling. So when you bring home a record, and then you can kind of take a step back and take a look at it, it's like, oh man, that is that is a serious piece of work there. And I don't think I could have done any better. It's the absolute best work I could have done in that period of time. So that's always a good feeling.
Yeah, and I know you said in some interviews that there is confidence in this album, which to me seems so surprising because you've given us so much music and so much art throughout the years. What brought you to this point in your life that you feel like this one is your best work? Like what factors contributed to this album?
Well, I think you have to start each record the same way, and it's there are habits that I instilled in myself, and also by being a member of Alice. So we never pulled any punches. We didn't varnish anything. We didn't sand any rough edges off. Warts and all was our approach, and so I kind of carry that wherever I go. But the main ethos, if you will, I guess that I carry within and without and outside the band is you have to start from an absolute zero. It doesn't matter what you did before. Mm-hmm. You did that record. You wrote those songs, so it's got to be something completely new. And so that's kind of a daunting task, but it's necessary. Okay, it's a blank chalkboard, blank piece of paper, absolute zero. What am I going to do now? So as long as if you're starting from that and not really relying or trying to compete with your past work, it's kind of a freeing thing. You also have the experience of having made some great records and wrote some great songs, and been part of some really amazing collectives of people, musicians, to make those records. So I had a pretty good group of folks together to make this one too. Gil Sharon, Mike Bordon, Robert Trujillo, Duff McKagan, Vincent Jones, Lola Collette, and Greg Bachado, and Tyler Bates and Joe Barisi. It's a pretty good group of folks right there. So you start from a zero and you just go and see where you end up.
Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, you have Rob Trujillo and Duff McKagan, Mike Bordon. How did they add to your vision for this album?
Yeah, well, we're longtime collaborators. Duff and I have been playing, helping each other with our creative projects outside of our respective bands for years. And Mike and Robert too. We did Degradation Trip together as well as a trio. So. When I started listening to this material, and starting to think about who to call, who are you going to call? You're going to call Mike Bordon. You're going to call Rob Trujillo. You're going to call Gil Sharon and Duff McKagan, and everybody said yes, and they're the best players in the world. They're really iconic. They all have their own style, and the cool thing about it is, you work really hard to kind of forge a musical fingerprint, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so, when you're working in the context of a group of very strong personalities of people that have very strong, flavors to them. It's interesting when you get them together to make a record for them to kind of mold themselves into what you're trying to achieve. And so, we've all had that experience of being a player on each other's projects, and I've had these guys on a few of mine, and it's just a good mix of people. They're my friends, first and foremost. And they're some of the most amazing musicians that I admire as a fan. So, it works.
It works out, yeah.
And luckily they said yes. So.
It would have been a bummer if they were like, you know what? I'm kind of busy right now.
Yeah. Well, I would have to make a few more phone calls, but luckily I did. The first call was all I had to make. So I love all of them dearly, and they put their heart and soul into it. And, they're as much a reason why the album is what it is as myself. So
I'm talking to Jerry Cantrell, on tour with Bush and Candlebox. Are coming to PH Live September 11th. Now, music was a huge part of your childhood. I think I read that you even wrote that you'd be a rock star in like a Dr. Seuss My Book About Me. Um,
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah.
so Elton John being one of your favorite artists. So when you fly, so when you're here in Vegas, you're here in town, you're recording 2009's Black Gives Way to Blue, and you have Elton John playing piano. Like what goes through your mind when that's happening?
Yeah, that was pretty mind blowing just to have a conversation with him and send him a demo, and kind of explain what that song, meant to me, and also the, of course the band, Black Gives Way to Blue. And he listened to the demo and he got back to me like almost immediately. I love this song. I love the sentiment. I love that it's a, a song for Lane. And I also love that you guys have found it within yourselves to carry on, so he wanted to be a part of it. I think it was the last song we recorded in that session, and we had to fly out to Vegas because he was doing his residency there.
Yeah.
And I think his soccer team was having a match, so he was late to the studio, and we all showed up, and in the middle of the room is this piano, and it's got the lyrics and the sheet music for my song on his piano, and I just kind of holy hell.
Like that for you.
I mean, yeah. It was a pretty amazing moment. He's one of the key artists when I was young that kind of gave me the inspiration to want to be a musician and make some rock and roll of my own. And you walk into a studio and you see your music on his piano that he's about to play, with you. It's fucking amazing.
Fast forward a little bit to 2020, and MoPOP Museum in Seattle awarded Alice in Chains with its Founders Award. So congratulations on that. I know it's 4 years later, but that's got to be a trip. But you have all these musicians and all your friends actually play your songs, and it's all for a great cause. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I've actually been a part of honoring a lot of musicians through MoPOP. John Fogerty, The Doors, and Jimmy Page. That was a big one. I had to actually play some of all three of their artists, to have them in the room and actually be part of like kind of playing their tunes for them, honoring them and stuff. So I'd been involved with MoPOP, honoring other artists, and of course in your hometown it always feels extra special when you're kind of celebrated, and to have that happen, to be the artist that's being celebrated rather than being there and celebrating some of your favorite artists was a nice little turn. And we were all really, really deeply touched that so many people rallied, especially during the time, because that was in the throes of, COVID. So everybody had to do things mostly remotely. And we had to do our performance at the MoPOP kind of by ourselves with no audience. And it's usually a live event. So, there were some differences to the way it went, but it was kind of unique and special too in the way that it went down. And there was so many great performances by so many of our friends, like you say, that were just awesome.
And when you're writing songs for yourself versus a song for Alice in Chains, like, is there a different mindset or a different process that you go through?
Not really. It's pretty much the same. Whatever collective you're working with, which group of people you're working, the process kind of remains the same for me. Generally it starts when I feel like I'm ready to jump into a creative project, and then I start a demo process on my own for about 3 or 4 months. And then after I'm done with that and I've got a bunch of material up that I feel good about bringing to the project or the group, then we get together and everybody else has been doing that as well. You know what I mean? Kind of gathering ideas and stuff, and then we throw them together and jam them out and make a record,
Yeah. And what makes Jerry Cantrell feel alive?
I mean, I'm pretty lucky, I wanted to do what I'm doing right now since I was a pretty young fella, and I've been able to do it most of my life and do it at a really high level. And it's been an adventure. It's been really fun. extreme highs, extreme lows. That's just life, and I'm still doing it. So, about ready to, drop a new record. I Want Blood, and I'm getting ready to get on a stage in about 3 or 4 hours and play one of those tunes off that record, as well as tunes from my whole career as a songwriter. And that makes you feel pretty alive when you step on a stage and hit a chord and you see people react to it.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Of course, an absolute honor to do so. Jerry Cantrell will be at PH Live along with Bush and Candlebox September 11th, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, come on out and rock out with us.